For today's lesson, we are going to make shapescapes. We are going to use shapes to create a landscape, a seascape, or a cityscape. Here are some shapes that you might use: a heart, a circle, a rectangle, a triangle, a rhombus, a square, a semicircle, and an oval. You might use some of these, but probably not all of them. Using those shapes, you can create a shape landscape, a shape seascape, or you can create a shape cityscape. I'm going to show you how we can create each one, but first I'm going to start with the landscape. The first step is going to be creating a horizon line, or a line that goes from side to side horizontally on our paper. That's where the sky meets the ground. I'm going to put some triangle mountains on top of my horizon line. You can do something different, but I chose to put mountains into the background of my paper, and that is going to go above that horizon line. I used triangles with diagonal lines going down, and I'm going to stick with triangle theme throughout this picture. So I'm using zigzag lines that kind of look like triangles to make the snow. And now I'm going to make a road that goes straight back. This road is going to be shaped like a triangle too, with two diagonal lines, and then the bottom of the paper makes the middle. This is because when things get farther away, they look smaller. So the street starts to look smaller as you look down it. Then I'm going to add in some triangle trees. The ones towards the bottom of the paper are going to be the biggest because, again, things look smaller as they get farther away. So as I get closer to that horizon line, I just make my triangles a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to add in one more small one at the top closest to the horizon line, and then I'm going to just add in a moon and some circle stars. Now I've created my whole landscape with just shapes. Next up, I'm going to show you how you can create a seascape. I almost put my horizon line in first, but I decided to add a boat first. So I'm going to create a semicircle by creating a U shape with a line across the top. That's going to be the bottom of my boat, with a line coming up and then a triangle around it for the sail for a boat. And now I'm going to make my horizon line go behind that boat. And if I had put it in first, I wouldn't have a line straight through the sail of my sailboat. So I put that in first, and now I'm going to add some waves, which are kind of like making more semicircles. You just make a U shape and keep going. And now I'm going to add in the sun. I'll use a full circle instead of a semicircle, so around and closed, and then some little lines coming out to show the rays of the sun. And the last step I'm going to do is creating some semicircles that go behind each other, so just those curved lines, to create some hills in the background, like little islands behind the sailboat. Oh, and I decided I want to add one more thing. I'm going to add in some birds with the same kind of lines we've been using, curved over and over. And then I will add a little circle in the middle to create the body. So now I have a seascape with shapes. Now it's time for a cityscape. So I'm going to create my horizon line this time really low on the bottom of my paper because I want enough room for some tall buildings. The first things I'm going to add are the things that are going to be in the front. So in front of the buildings, I'm going to put some trees. So I just put a line, and I decided to make these trees circles and ovals. And then I'll also make some shrubs in the front that are made of little circles. Then I'm going to add some lines for the middle of the street. Another idea I had after making this is that these could have been rectangles for the lines to make sure that we're still using lots of shapes. Each building I create is going to be a rectangle. And rectangles, usually you have to create 4 lines, 2 vertical and 2 horizontal. So 2 going up and 2 going down. But because we have the horizon line on the bottom, we don't have to add one for the bottom of each rectangle. And if I'm using the sides of my other buildings, sometimes I only have to create 2 lines, like right here. I also added a triangle for a roof. And I'm changing up the size of my buildings and making sure they go behind the trees, so not drawing a line through them, so that I can see all different heights and shapes and sizes of rectangles. Behind my buildings, I am going to add even more buildings because cities have so many. With that, I'll just add in some lines that stop once I hit the top of a building. So I'm adding more rectangles, except once I touch the top of another building, I stop. Once I am finished with all of those, I'm just going to start adding some details inside of the buildings that I made in the front, like doors and windows. Those are just going to be lots and lots of rectangles and squares. I'll finish it off with a circle sun, and now I've created an entire cityscape out of shapes.